Dog refuses to step into taxi. What was hiding in the trunk? Shock the driver. What happened next will shock you. Listen closely.
Like, share, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Rain had rinsed the city until everything glowed, streetlights and bus benches and puddles that copied the sky. Nina stood at the curb with her 5-year-old son Milo and their German Shepherd Ace. Her scrub top clung after a long shift. Her lanyard smelled of hand gel and coffee. Milo traced boot prints in the crosswalk. Ace leaned into her leg. A yellow taxi slid from the line and stopped with the soft sigh of a tired room. The driver rolled his window down halfway. He had a neat gray beard and gentle eyes behind readers that hung on a cord. "Need a lift?" he asked in a voice that made room for tired people. His name tag on the dash read Cole. The heater breathed out air like a bakery door opening. "To Maple and 3rd, Nina said. "Please." Her breath made a small cloud in the streetlight. "Hop in," he said. "Watch your step, little man." He clicked the lock. The back door let go with a soft clack. Milo climbed in first, small hands flat on the seat, sneakers squeaking. He scooted to the far side and patted the cushion next to him. "Ace window," he chirped. "You can put your nose on it." His paper crown from school, crooked star and all, still rode his head like a brave idea. Ace did not move. The leash between Nina's fingers went from loose to a quiet steel line. He planted his paws as if he had found invisible glue and held his breath. A low sound rose from him. It wasn't angry. It wasn't loud. It was steady, the kind of warning a parent uses when they don't want to scare a child. Nina blinked. "Ace?" She kept her voice simple, a soft request, not a command. "Up." She tapped the car's sill with 2 knuckles, an invitation he usually took. Ace's gaze stayed on the car. He didn't look at the seat or the window or even Mr. Cole. He looked at the space itself, like he could see something she couldn't. His ears went forward, then back. His tail dropped to a thinking place. He widened his stance until his body covered the distance between the open door and Milo's dangling feet. Mr. Cole twisted in his seat and smiled. "He okay with rides? I can move that bag." He pointed at a grocery sack on the floor. "Sorry about the mess." "He loves rides," Nina said. "He sticks his tongue out like a cartoon." She tried again. "Ace, up." She touched the seat this time, then the floor mat. "Up." Ace set one paw on the sill and drew a careful breath from inside the car. His nose separated rain from metal and old coffee. He leaned forward, inhaled again, then froze. The sound in his chest hummed lower. He eased his paw back down and placed himself squarely between Milo and the door. "Buddy?" Milo leaned toward him. "Hey, it's okay. Taxi is like a tiny bus." His voice was half pep talk, half sleepy song. "Sometimes dogs don't like leather," Mr. Cole offered, gentle, "or the little tree smell." He tapped the pine freshener dangling from the mirror. "I can take it down." "It's not that," Nina said, surprising herself. She crouched to Ace's level and laid her palm on his neck where the fur thinned. He was warm and tuned like a violin string. "Talk to me," she whispered into his ear, a habit from alarm nights and loud dreams. "What is it?" Ace didn't glance at her. He sniffed toward the back of the car, one precise pull of air, then stilled, eyes fixed where the seat met the floor. He did not flinch at the heater's gust or the click of the meter. He wasn't reacting to noise. Nina watched him and felt a drop of cold in her ribs, the kind you get when a staircase is darker than it should be. "He's never done this," she said to no one in particular. "He got into a moving van once because he thought it was funny." Milo's fingers curled in his lap. "Is he scared?" "I think he's saying no," Nina said. She kept her voice steady for Milo, even as the cold drop slid lower. "And when Ace says no, we listen," Mr. Cole nodded. "Smart," he said. He didn't sound annoyed. He sounded like a man who had waited for people before. "I can radio for a van. More room for him." 5 minutes. Ace took a step backward without looking away from the car. He made himself heavier, as if the sidewalk had stronger gravity under his feet. The leash pulled into a straight answer. The sound inside him faded, not because he was calm, but because he was saving his voice for the next thing. A bus sighed by. A bicyclist lifted 2 fingers in a lazy wave. Somewhere across the street a door thumped, and a laugh spilled onto the wet walk, warm as soup. The city kept moving around their paws. Nina glanced at Mr. Cole's eyes in the mirror. They were soft, reader's eyes, the kind that noticed true things slowly. "Sorry," she said. "He's usually easy." "No sorry needed," he said. "He's doing his job." Milo tugged his paper crown down until it rested on his eyebrows. "Maybe he smells a spider," he said, hopeful. Ace's ears flicked at the word smell. He breathed toward the back of the car again, a small, sharp inhale, then braced, planted, and kept still. His gaze slid to the trunk line for a beat, then returned to the open door. She told herself it was nothing, and knew it wasn't. "Sir," she said, choosing the word because it was simpler than his name. "Would you mind if we take a minute?" "Take two," he said, nodding. He turned the radio down until the song became only a suggestion. His fingers were still on the wheel. The meter was not running. He waited like a person waits with someone else's grandmother, present, patient, unafraid of quiet. Nina crouched again and looked into Ace's eyes, the old soul gaze that had made her sign the adoption papers without a second thought. The shelter had written no history, yet he moved like a dog who remembered everything. Once a car backfired and he guided Milo behind her with a smooth, practiced step. Once a smoke alarm chirped at 3 a.m., and Ace walked them to the hallway and sat beneath the detector. He wasn't dramatic. He was sure. "What if he just hates cabs?" Milo whispered. "He liked the one with blue seats," Nina said. "Remember after the dentist? He tried to give the driver his sticker." Milo nodded. He put it on his nose by mistake and sneezed so hard he bonked his head. The memory made him smile, but the smile didn't last. He looked at Ace's back like it was a wall he couldn't climb. "Ace, please." Ace flicked his eyes toward Milo, then back to the car. He didn't whine. He didn't bark. He just held the line. With Ace, silence meant pay attention. Another taxi edged around with a polite beep. Mr. Cole lifted his hand in apology, and the other driver slid past. A woman in a glittery jacket angled her phone at the puddles. The deli on the corner flipped its sign from open to closed. The small slice of the world kept time like a drum you could nap to. Nina stepped closer to the door. She looked at the seat, the floor, the pocket behind Mr. Cole's chair. Nothing seemed off. A cloth grocery bag sat by the hump in the floor, and a blue jacket was folded like a pillow. She took a breath. The car smelled like winter coats, coffee, a hint of pine. Under that, something faint hid behind other smells and did not want to be found, like the echo of rubber or laundry steam or a space too warm for too long. She could not name it, and the fact that she could not name it bothered her more than it should have. Mr. Cole watched her in the mirror. "He looks like a working dog," he said softly. "Had one like him when I was a kid. Smartest thing in the house, including my father." Nina's mouth crooked. "Sometimes I think he can text." "Bet he could drive better than half my fares," Mr. Cole said, trying to make light and not quite getting there. His smile slid away. "You want me to pop the trunk?" "If you need to put your bag there. We can keep it with us," Nina said quickly. The speed of the answer surprised her. She heard the edge in her voice and smoothed it. "It's just groceries." Ace's eyes cut to her hand on the door, then to the trunk. The movement was small, but it sat in her like a sentence that didn't need punctuation. He shifted closer to Milo until his shoulder pressed the boy's knees. Nina swallowed. "We might wait for a van," she said to no one and everyone. "Or the bus. We can wait," Mr. Cole said. He didn't push. He didn't sell. He sat with them at the edge of the decision. The heater kept breathing. The wipers ticked once, then rested. The city's glow ran along the hood like light on a stream. Milo lifted his crown and checked the inside as if instructions might be printed there. "Mom?" "Yes, sweetheart." Sometimes Ace knows things first. Nina touched his cheek with her knuckle. "I know." She looked at Ace. "Okay," she said, more to the dog than to the man. "Not this one." Ace exhaled like a held breath finally leaving. He didn't wag. He didn't celebrate. He just softened. A small release in his shoulders that told her she had read him right. Nina eased the door closed. The latch caught with a sure click. Mr. Cole didn't flinch. He put both hands back on the wheel and nodded once like a man agreeing with a verdict he respected. "You take care," he said. He lowered his window an inch. "Young man, you look after your mom." And you, he added to Ace, keep doing whatever you're doing. Ace blinked, and it somehow passed for a nod. The taxi rolled away, taillights smearing across the wet street like red crayons. Nina watched until it turned at the next block. The cold in her ribs didn't vanish, but it changed shape, less a warning. More a note on the map. Remember this corner. Remember this choice. Ace gets 3 treats, Milo declared, seriousness returning to his small face. Because he saved us from leather. From leather, Nina echoed, smiling. She scooped him up and kissed the crown of his head where glue from the paper star had dried smooth. We'll take the bus. 2 stops. We'll be home before the ramen boils. Ace's ears tipped toward the word home like it was his favorite song. He fell in step beside them, not pulling, not lagging. He moved like a lamp that knew which way shadows would jump. They walked toward the bus stop. The deli's door chimed as the owner left and locked up. A man in a knit cap held his umbrella over a stranger for half the crosswalk. A dog barked 3 quick notes on a far balcony. The city felt ordinary in the way that makes you brave because you forget anything else can happen. At the stop, the bench was wet, so Milo stood on his toes and peered down the street. Ace sat pressed to Nina's shin, head up, breath slow. He kept glancing at each passing car, reading it the way a librarian reads spines. Title, author, danger. He didn't look back at the taxi's corner. He had already made his decision and filed it. His job now was to take them home by the safe route they had chosen together. Want my scarf? A teenager in a silver jacket asked Milo. It's warm. We're okay, Nina said, touched. Thank you for being kind. Your dog is Goals, the girl said, grinning. He looks like he knows your Wi-Fi password. He probably said it, Nina said. She rubbed Ace's ear. It's 8 bones and a belly rub. Ace closed his eyes for half a second and opened them again, then watched headlights curl around the block. Nina followed his gaze and felt the oddest thing. Trust with weight, like a warm stone in her coat pocket. She had listened to the one creature who never lied to her. No music swelled, the night did not clap, but she felt a line draw through the world from that open taxi door to this shy bus light, and knew she would remember. The bus appeared, big and patient. The doors side open. The driver nodded at Ace like old friends and said, "Hey, partner," because some people knew how to talk to dogs. They found a seat. Milo leaned against Nina and blinked like a cat in sun. Ace lay at their feet like a question answered. Nina looked out the window at the block where the taxi had turned and wondered why her heart still counted faster than the stoplights. She thought of the shelter tag, no history, and of how history can travel inside a body even when no one writes it down. She thought of Ace's refusal, not stubborn, not afraid, just sure. And she thought of how a small no can become the first step of a very long yes. Yes to getting home, yes to being safe, yes to trusting the nose that smelled the world for them when she was too tired to see straight. She squeezed Milo's knee. 2 stops, she said. Then socks and soup. And cartoons, Milo said, half asleep but strategic. 1, she bargained. 2, he said, heroic. Ace huffed what might have been a laugh. The bus hummed. The city slid by like a tired story that would for once end softly. Nina rested her head against the cool glass for a second and let the motion smooth what the curb had wrinkled. Ace kept watch. Milo dreamed of lions with sticker eyes. The heater tucked their little triangle of warmth tight as a blanket. Outside, the sidewalk shone like paper under a lamp. A stop request dinged. A door whooshed. Life made its usual sounds, the ones that meant nothing bad had happened yet. And maybe, because someone listened to a dog at the right moment. Nothing bad would. Ace blinked once, almost like agreement. And the bus doors closed with a soft sigh, carrying them toward socks, soup, and the safe. Ordinary night. The bus hummed like a big warm fridge while rain threaded the window glass, and Milo kept turning to look behind us as if the curb could chase a bus. He wore his paper crown from school and it tilted over one eyebrow like a sleepy star. "Mom," he whispered, "why didn't Ace want the taxi?" He never says no. His eyes went from my face to Ace's and back again, as if we were 2 clocks that should match. I brushed his hair flat and let my hand stay a second on his forehead. Sometimes he knows first, I said. He smelled that gas leak on the back steps before anyone did. He hears the heater before it clanks. He's our early warning. I made my voice light so his small shoulders would not lift. Inside, I felt my heart tip forward and catch and tip again. Milo leaned down and pressed his palm to Ace's shoulder. He looks awake, he said. Like when he sees a squirrel, but nicer. Ace lay with his paws stacked and his ears tilted to the bus door, not twitching, just listening. His nose made a small fog circle on the glass and cleared it with each slow breath. He was not resting. He was drawing a map. 2 rows up, a teen in a silver jacket watched us with kind eyes and a grin she tried to hide. Your dog just switched to cop mode, she said to no one and to us. The bus driver glanced in his mirror, met Ace's stare for a heartbeat, and looked back at the road. He did not smile. Headlights flowed along the side of the bus like fish. Among them, a yellow taxi held its place 2 cars back, fell away at a light, then slipped forward again near the bakery with the pink sign. It could have been any cab. The city made more of them every day. Still, my chest counted a little fast, the way it does when you misstep on a stair and catch yourself just in time. He likes cars, Milo said, as if this were a test and the right answer would fix the night. He licked that blue seat last time and the driver laughed. He pulled the paper crown off and checked the inside as if there might be rules printed there. He does like cars, I said. But he didn't like that one. I did not say why. I did not have a good word for it yet. It was not smell only. It was not sound only. It was the way Ace had set his weight on the sidewalk, the way he had made himself wide, the way his breath had become a string he did not pull. The bus sighed at the next stop. A man with a guitar case shuffled off. A woman climbed on with a tiny plant wrapped in paper, the leaves trembling with every step. The doors closed, and the driver pulled back into the stream with the slow care of a person moving a cake. Ace stood without a shake, planted his front paws closer to the aisle, and angled toward the door. He had made up his mind before I did. Do we get off? Milo asked. He did not sound scared. He sounded ready to help, like a kid reaching for the mixing bowl. The teen in silver watched my mouth, waiting for yes or no, her hand already on the yellow cord. We get off, I said. I pressed the strip and the bus chimed. When the doors opened, damp air came in like a soft hand over our cheeks. I lifted Milo down, and Ace stepped after him, pausing on the last inch of the step the way he always did. A final scan left and right as if he could read the dark like print. The taxi turned the corner again, slow as a thought. The hazards blinked 2 orange metronomes, and the car eased to the curb half a block ahead. The driver got out and lifted both hands for a second, palms open, a gesture that could have been apology or caution. He had reader glasses on a cord and a neat gray beard. He had been gentle when he spoke before. I reminded myself of that and then reminded myself again. I'm sorry if I worried you, he called. Dispatch pinned me to this block. Folks cancel in the rain. I figured it might be you. His voice had no hard edges. He stood by the trunk like a man waiting for a suitcase that never comes. Ace shifted forward, one paw, then the other, and stopped with his chest in line with my knees. He did not pull. He did not lunge. He simply fixed on the thin seam where the trunk met the body, and the sound rose in him, low and steady, more engine than alarm. Milo's small fingers tightened around mine. He isn't scared, Milo whispered. He's doing that thinking noise. He frowned toward the trunk. Sir, do you have a spider? Ace hates the quick ones. The driver, Mr. Cole, let out a breath that smoked in the air and vanished. No spider, he said. He kept his hands where we could see them and nodded at Ace the way you nod at a professional on a job site. He's telling you something. I'm listening too. Could you open it? I asked, hearing my voice ask before I had decided it would. It might calm him. The words carried please and also something firmer, like a bridge with a weight limit sign. Mr. Cole glanced down at his pocket and then at the hinge Ace watched. He took out a key ring. They chimed against each other like polite alarm bells. He used his left hand, though he wore his watch on that wrist. The key slid in. The latch let go with a click that seemed louder than it should in the soft rain. The trunk lifted an inch, thought about it, and lifted the rest of the way. Inside lay a folded gray blanket, a triangle reflector, a tool roll with wrenches peeking, a crate with washer fluid, a small first aid box with a red cross. It was clean. It was normal. It looked like a picture of trust. Ace did not look at the neat things. He did not relax. He sniffed the left side where the lining met the hinge. His tail hung in a straight line. He set his feet wider, a working pose. He inhaled tiny, quick breaths at the crease like he was counting something no one else could see. On the rubber strip, a thin smear of dark ran into the crease. It could have been grease. It could have been dirt the wash never reaches. It looked like a line wiped in a hurry. Mr. Cole rubbed it with his thumb and showed clean fingers. Had a flat last week, he said.
Rear left.
Grant tire. He did not add any words to soften it. Milo slid his head out from behind my hip. Is it the blanket? He asked Ace. Is it old coffee? Is it a bee? His voice made the question small and real. Ace ignored the blanket, the crate, the triangle. He moved to the rear door seam, drew in a slow breath, returned to the hinge, and then set himself between Milo and the bumper, as if the sidewalk itself had asked him to stand guard. Okay, Mr. Cole said. And the word landed wrong, like a key in the wrong lock. He lifted his hands again, palms out, and they trembled just once. I can call dispatch. I can swap cars. You don't need a ride. I get it. He lowered the trunk gently until it latched. He did not slam. He did not want to wake the dark. Why does Ace think the trunk is bad? Milo asked, louder now because the night had more room. Is there a bee hiding? He turned his face up, earnest. Sir, do you promise there's not a bee? Mr. Cole almost smiled and then didn't. No bees, he said. He put the keys away and left his hand in the pocket, as if he wanted to hold something steady. Kid, he added softly. Sometimes the bravest thing is to wait when a dog says wait. Ace barked once. It was not big, it was shaped. It hit the air and stopped the driver in the exact place where his next step would have landed. The sound made a line we could not see, and all of us felt it. A cruiser rolled by and did not slow. The world kept moving as if nothing was happening and everything was happening at once. A breeze slid through, and the bakery across the street clicked off the last light, leaving the cake in the far case glowing like a tiny moon. Ace's nostrils flared. He lifted one paw and set it down a half-inch closer to the hinge, not because he needed the reach, but because he wanted our eyes there. He did not look at me to see if I followed. He knew I did. Dispatch is calling, Mr. Cole said. His phone lit his pocket. He took it out, stared at the screen, let it buzz, and did not answer. He pressed his lips together until the color went out of them, then let them go. He looked at the trunk again like a man looking at a truth that would not change if he blinked. Do you need help? I asked. It came out before I could stop it. I was tired and still in my scrubs, and it was not my job to manage strangers on wet streets, but there we were. It felt like the thing a neighbor would ask on a bad morning. He shook his head once. No, he said, and then a smaller, honest, maybe. He rubbed his thumb over his forefinger, a habit people get from soap and worry. I'll move the car around the corner, he added too fast, as if speed could make the sentence less thin. Ace did not move his paws. He let out a low note that sounded like a door held shut by a shoulder. Mr. Cole stopped, not because Ace could reach him, but because the sound made the next step feel wrong. Milo slid behind Ace and put both hands between his shoulders, breathing slow to match him. It looked like a small ceremony, and maybe it was. We stood in a little circle of ordinary night, with a dog pointing at a line of steel. There were no flashing lights, no shouting, just wet air and a soft hum from the pharmacy sign. Still, something had shifted. The air felt thicker, the way a room goes quiet before a hard truth sits down in it. If he could talk, Milo said, eyes on Ace, what would he say right now? He would say, wait, I told him. He would say, don't get in and don't let the car go. He would say, stand behind me. He would say, trust me. The words came without effort. They felt like ones Ace had been saying since we met him. I had just learned them tonight. Mr. Cole looked tired in a way that was not about sleep. His eyes flicked to the left hinge again and stayed there like a compass needle. He drew in a breath as if he might speak, then let it out. I'm going to call this in, he said to the air more than to us. They can send someone else to take the shift. The phone in his hand, the trunk at his back, the dog at his front. We made a small, strange shape on the sidewalk, like a puzzle with one piece almost in place. The teen shifted her weight and planted her feet wider. "I'll stay," she said. "My bus isn't for 10, and I'd hate myself if I walked away now." Ace's tail twitched once, not a wag, more a metronome keeping time. He had not broken his stare from the seam. He was patient, but it was the kind of patience that comes right before action, the held breath a swimmer takes on the block. Rain ticked a steady beat on the trunk lid. The smell of rubber and cold metal stood out of the air like bold text. "Mom," Milo whispered without looking away, "if Ace is pointing, is it bad if I feel brave?" "That's what brave is," I said. Scared and steady at the same time. I squeezed his hand. "And we are steady." Mr. Cole raised his phone and paused. I heard the tiny click of a camera app opening by mistake, that soft shutter sound people forget they turned on. His mouth tightened. He switched to the dialer and stared at the numbers as if they might change to letters that spelled a way out. Ace took another small breath at the seam and then stopped even breathing for a second. Like a pointer freezing over water. The pause lifted every hair on my arms. Milo's hands pressed deeper into Ace's coat. The teen in silver whispered, "Oh, wow," not loud. More like a note to herself. "I should have listened to him sooner," I said into the rain. Not sure which him I meant. The man with the reader glasses who had told my son to look after me. Or the dog who had refused an easy ride home. Maybe both. Mr. Cole lowered his phone. "I'm sorry," he said. He said it like a person who had been saying it in his head for hours and had finally let it out where other ears could hear. "It's been a long week." He looked at the hinge one more time, steady and slow, and then he did not take another step. Ace blinked once, almost like a nod. He had drawn his line, and we had chosen to stand on the right side of it. The night did not explode. Nothing loud happened. Only the quiet got heavier, like a blanket pulled up to a chin. And in that quiet lived the first disturbing sign we could name. He would not move his eyes from that left hinge, and nothing we could say or see would pull them away. If you stood there, you would have felt it too. The way a dog's attention can change the shape of a street. The way a small boy learns to be still. The way a stranger puts his hands up and waits for something he cannot stop naming in his head. We were 4 people and 1 dog, and the rain was the only thing sure enough to keep talking. Ace lifted his paw again and set it down where the metal met the rubber, making a tiny sound you would miss if you weren't listening for it. He did not scratch. He did not touch. He only showed. And that was enough to turn a wet, ordinary curb into a place where the night held its breath and waited for the next truth to step forward. What would you do right now? Rain softened into a hush that made small noises stand on their toes, and Ace held himself like a drawn bow, eyes fixed on the thin seam at the left hinge. He did not shake or chatter or bark. He seemed to become the line he watched. Milo pressed into my side and tried to be still, the way Ace was still. His paper crown folded in his fist like a ticket he was afraid to lose. At first I thought it was the rain changing its mind against the metal, but the sound did not keep the rain's rhythm. It came in 2 soft beats, then a space, then another, a patient tapping that did not belong to tools. Ace angled one ear without looking away. The teen in the silver jacket cupped her hand behind her own ear, and her mouth opened a little. "Do you hear that?" she whispered, the words wrapped in breath so they wouldn't scare the air. I swallowed and listened hard. The tapping was small, almost polite, as if the night had manners even now. Then under it, something thinner slipped through. One tight breath, then another, each clipped short, each catching on fabric. It went bone-deep fast, the way a cold does when you fall through ice. Milo's fingers found my wrist and tightened until skin turned white. "Mom," he breathed. "Somebody's in there." He did not say the word kid yet. He could feel it and didn't want to give it a name that would make it more real. Mr. Cole's face emptied and filled again, like a light trying to decide whether to turn off. His readers glinted, his careful beard beaded with mist. "I keep a scanner back there," he said too quickly. Old thing picks up chatter. I forgot to switch it off. He said it, and even he didn't believe it. Ace answered with a sound so low I felt it through the leash before I heard it. "Please open it," I said. I did not move toward the bumper. I did not want to change Ace's geometry. Now. My voice came out simple as a tool. He set his left palm on the lid as if the car were a nervous horse. The latch sticks, he muttered. I don't want to snap it. His right hand drifted toward the key and stopped an inch away. Sweat made a small river beside his eye and ran into the crease by his nose. The teen lifted her phone and hit record. I'm streaming, she said, as if she were telling the sky its own color. So nobody forgets what we heard. The glow painted her jaw. In the screen, Ace was a steady statue with breathing built in. Milo's crown didn't look ridiculous. It looked like a promise he had made some other day to be brave when brave was needed. Inside the trunk, the sound changed. One quick thud, then silence like someone saving strength. Then a soft scrape that made my mouth taste like pennies. Please, I said again. Open it. He slid the key in and turned. The trunk rose a thumb's width. Air moved where air had not. The sound sharpened into something I could not pretend away. One small breath dragged through cloth and fear. It was not a radio. It was not a tool. It was a person trying to be smaller than their own chest. Mr. Cole slammed the lid. The sound slammed back. Ace surged one step, not sloppy, not wild, and set himself between Milo and the bumper so fast it looked like he had always been there. His front paw stamped once, a tiny drum beat on wet concrete, and then planted. His lips barely lifted, just enough to draw a line around wrong. Don't, I said. I did not raise my voice. I put iron in it. Do not move the car. Do not touch the gear. Stay right where you are. The words landed between us and held their place like bricks. Mr. Cole's hands shot up, fingers spread, palms empty. You don't understand, he said, and the sentence arrived already tired. It's not what you think. His gaze skittered everywhere except the hinge. You'll make it worse here, please. There's a camera at the corner. 2 blocks. Safer there. It is safer where air can get in, I said. I knelt just enough to lower my head near the seam without moving closer. We are here, I said into the crack, slow and clear. We won't leave you. We hear you. I felt ridiculous, and then I heard the answer, a tiny sound that was more decision than voice. Ace's ear twitched a millimeter. Milo whispered, Hi, and his breath came out like he was cooling soup. The teen swallowed and steadied her phone. People are coming, she said under her breath, to us and to whoever listened behind the lid. The chat rolled up the screen, bright pricks in the dim. She ignored them and kept the lens on that hinge like it was the only true thing. Mr. Cole's phone buzzed. He flinched but did not reach. It buzzed again. Don't, he told himself, not us. He shook his head once, like a swimmer shaking water from an ear. I can't open here, he said. His voice went flat, a sentence someone had made for him. I promised. Promised who? I asked. He blinked. Rain dotted his lashes. He chewed the inside of his cheek, then pressed his lips together until they thinned. The wrong people, he said finally, so low I had to read it in his throat. I promised the wrong people something I can't keep if I'm still myself. Then stop being the person who keeps it, I said. Be yourself right now. I felt my own words in my bones and wanted to be sure I believed them before he did. The night didn't answer. The hinge did, with another small scrape. He put both hands flat on the trunk, fingers splayed as if to feel the beat under the metal. If I open it, he said to his palms, they might hurt more later. If you don't, I said. They can't breathe now. The simple math sat between us, soaking wet and heavy. He looked at Milo. Something in his face warmed and broke. Kid, he said, I'm not trying to be the bad guy. It wasn't a claim. It was a hope. Milo nodded one time. Then be the good one, he said. And he leaned his head on Ace. And Ace did not move except to breathe in rhythm with him. Mr. Cole looked at Ace. The dog's eyes were old and plain, and didn't blink. Your dog knows what I should do, he murmured, more to his own past than to the present. My dog used to look like that when I did something dumb. His mouth quirked for half a second and fell back to worry. The teen cleared her throat. I called, she said. I gave them the plate. They told me to keep the car right here. She didn't say police. The word didn't need to be spoken. It hung on the edge of the wet air, a promise that might land or might miss us entirely. Ace's growl deepened, then stopped. He wasn't warning. He was ready. He lowered his head until his nose nearly touched the seam and inhaled once more. A careful, quiet test. He did not bark. He settled lower on his front legs like a spring easing down, eyes up. "Step away from the car," I said. "Stand by the pole." I pointed to the signpost with the bus schedule. "We all stay where we can see each other." Mr. Cole shook his head and then nodded, and then didn't move at all. He looked like a man trying to decide which part of himself he wanted to keep. He lifted his left hand, set it down. Lifted his right hand, set it down. "If I take another step," he said finally, "I won't come back to this spot, and I must come back to this spot." "You can come back in 3 seconds," I said. "After you lift the lid." His jaw worked. He reached for the key with a hand that had poured coffee and tied shoes and lifted toddlers into swings. He turned the key. The latch clicked. The lid rose an inch. Air moved like a thought you were afraid to think. The sound inside came again. Closer, sharper, not loud, not theater, just human. He stopped. He held it there, just a breath of space, and in that breath I heard a small whimper sink into the blanket of the rain and stay alive. "We are here," I said into the inch. "We hear you." Milo whispered his hello again, and Ace exhaled like a man after a long dive. Mr. Cole shut the trunk. He did it because fear grabbed his hands first. Because promises made in a wrong room had more gravity than the right ones do at first. The lid thumped shut, and Ace drove forward with his chest, blocking, not biting, not wild, exactly where he needed to be, eyes never leaving that seam. His body made the car smaller. His presence made running look foolish. "Don't," I said. "Do not go around to the driver's door." He took one step toward the door and stopped when Ace's head turned, not because of teeth, but because of attention. It is hard to lie in the face of attention that pure. "I'm not leaving," he said, voice cracking. "I'm not. He rubbed his fingers together, thumb over forefinger in a circle that had worn itself thin over years. "I need to think." "Think here," I said. "Think with the key in your hand." The teen's hand shook for the first time. She steadied it against her chest, phone pressed to her shoulder like a friend. "You have people watching who will help you be brave," she said. "On this side of the screen and the other." He looked at his phone, let it buzz, flipped it face down on the wet lid. "I used to sing to my kid in this car," he said, breath fogging in small puffs. "She would tell me to go slower on corners because her dolls fell over." He closed his eyes. When he opened them, the wrong promise in them had lost a little color. "Open it," I said again, "because sometimes you keep saying the true thing until the world makes room for it." He slid the key in. He paused. He looked at Ace. Ace did not blink. He lifted the lid another inch. The sound came raw and immediate, right on the edge of words that had been used up in fear. I put my mouth near the seam. "We are here," I said. "We won't let go." He flinched like the words touched his hand. He took a step back. I saw the door to the driver's seat out of the corner of my eye and moved so my hip lined up with the handle. I wasn't a wall. I was a mother who did not mind being a wall if the wall kept breathing inside the trunk. "Don't make me the villain," he whispered. "You make you the hero," I answered. "Right now. With this key. With this lid." Rain ticked its patient math on the metal. Down the block a siren murmured and went another way. The city kept making its big noise while our small spot of night held on to silence like it was a rope. He turned the key. The latch released. The lid rose a hand's width. Air moved. A tiny cough struggled through blanket and fear, and the teen choked on a sob and bit it back. Milo squeezed Ace so hard he could have wrung water from his fur. Ace breathed out and in and did not move. Mr. Cole's shoulders dropped. He let the lid stay open that small amount, and then he lowered it again, like a man setting down a baby he was not finished holding. "I can't," he said louder now, to the rule, to the night, to whatever came next. He stepped away from the car, 1-2 paces as if he meant to run. Ace flowed across the space without hurry and put both front paws neatly on the driver's door, owning the handle with the quiet certainty of a person signing their name. We stood there, 4 humans and 1 dog in soft rain, while a thin sound crawled under a lid and asked to be air. The teens' chat scrolled faster, a stream of strangers finding their better selves in text. None of that mattered in the moment. Only the seam did, Only the hands and the key and the yes we were trying to become. Mr. Cole looked at the hinge like a confession. He wiped his face with the heel of his palm and left a clean streak. "Okay," he said to the car, to the wrong promise, to his old life. "Okay." He reached toward the key again. His fingers shook, stopped, steadied. From somewhere far off, a siren lifted and floated toward our street, too distant to claim yet, close enough to promise. The sound in the trunk answered with the smallest stubborn gasp, and the rain kept counting seconds in plain numbers. Ace stayed with his paws on the door and his eyes on the seam, holding our line with the kind of patience that is a dare. Mr. Cole's lips parted, closed, then opened again. "They told me not to look," he said. "They said it was a package and if I peeked, they would know. When I came on shift, the trunk was already like this. My dash cam was gone. A man I don't know leaned in and called me by my first name even though I never told him. I thought if I kept moving, if I stayed where cameras are, if I kept it quiet, I could get to a place where someone stronger than me would take it from my hands." He stared at his palms, as if he wanted to scrub words off them and didn't know how. "I am sorry," he said, and the apology felt like it had been walking a long way to get here. "You are not alone," I said. "Not tonight." The teen nodded hard. "Not alone," she echoed. Milo lifted his chin toward the seam. "We're here," he told it again, brave and small. Ace's tail did not wag. It rested like a straight line drawn under a sentence that mattered. Mr. Cole set his fingers to the key and took one more breath that sounded like a choice waking up. "Be honest. What would you whisper into that inch of air, and what would you tell the driver to do in that exact moment? Drop your answer below so we can hear it too." Rain gathered on the lid and fell in tiny threads, and the sound inside the trunk shaped itself into a truth we could not pretend away. It wasn't metal or tools. It was a breath hitting cloth, then a small knock that asked the night for help. Ace froze with his nose near the left hinge, his back a firm line that said here. Milo leaned forward until his paper crown tapped my hip. "Mom," he whispered. "It sounds like a baby." The word made the street tilt. The deli window threw us back at ourselves. A woman in wet scrubs, a small boy in a star hat, a dog like a stone with a heartbeat, and a driver with nowhere left to hide. Mr. Cole's hand hovered, then curled. His reader glasses swung and knocked his chest. "Please," I said, and the word carried more than one meaning. "Please open it. Please don't make me say it again. Please let this be something else, even though I knew it wasn't." I lowered my mouth to the seam. "We hear you. We're not moving." Ace slid a paw between Milo's sneakers and the bumper and held his stare. The teen in the silver jacket stepped to the signpost, phone up, volume high so small sounds would not be lost. Mr. Cole lifted the lid a sliver. Air that had been held too long slipped out. The breath inside changed, a sharp pull and a soft cough. We all heard it. The teen bit her lip. Milo's fingers dug into my sleeve. Ace let out one low note and stilled, as if he didn't want to waste even sound. Mr. Cole flinched and dropped the lid like a reflex. "Don't," I said, sharper than I meant. "Do not close it. Open it now." I kept my voice level, the way you do when a room must follow a simple order. "I can't," he said, words that had lived all day under his tongue. "They told me not to. If I opened it, it would be on me. Who told you that?" He looked at a car parked across the street, windows fogged. Rain ran little roads down the glass. A shape sat behind the cracked window. Ace's ear ticked that way, then returned to the hinge. "People," he said. "The kind that don't need names." His phone buzzed. He didn't reach. "I pick up a shift," he said. "I keep my head down. I drive where they say. Tonight the deal came with a trunk already heavy. Break the deal," I said. Milo's voice was small and exact. "If there's a baby, we have to open." Ace says so. Ace did say so. Not with barking, with stillness that makes lies look foolish. He breathed along the seam and pressed his shoulder into my knee. I didn't know I was shaking until he steadied me. The teen turned her camera to my face and back to the hinge. "People are watching," she said softly. "They're asking if they should call. I'm telling them to call." Her hand trembled and settled. "Stay with me," she whispered to the screen. The sound inside changed again. A muffled whimper, then the faint scrape of something against lining. A pale green glow flickered, the emergency handle catching light. It pulsed like a heartbeat. "Can you pull the green thing?" I asked into the seam, shaping the words like a hand a child could hold. "If you can't, make a little noise." "We are here." A small noise came. It wasn't words. It was bravery. Mr. Cole's sleeve slid back when he shifted, and I saw a strip of gauze taped around his wrist, the kind you wrap yourself in a bathroom with the wrong hand. The edges were damp. "They grabbed me at the station," he said, not looking at it. Said my account had a hold. Asked if I wanted the hold to go away. The man knew my granddaughter's school. He listed the cross streets like he'd lived there. He swallowed. I said yes before I knew what yes meant. "You can say no now," I said. His eyes flicked to Milo and back. "How old is he?" 5. "My Ellie is 6, he said. "She leaves crackers in the back seat and tells me stories with no endings." His mouth wanted to smile and couldn't. I told myself I would drive where they said, and then find a light to stand under and decide. I kept not deciding. Ace's gaze cut from hinge to window and back. He lowered his chest until the bumper touched his fur and held there, like he was bracing the car himself. The teen took a step closer to Milo without breaking her frame. "My name's Sky," she said in a low voice. "I'm staying." Milo nodded at her and never looked away from the seam. "If I say hi again, will they be less scared?" He asked me. "Say it," I said. "Hi," he whispered, softer and steadier than the rain. "We're here." From inside, 2 tiny taps answered his voice. 1, 2, a beat apart, as if small fingers were learning the rhythm of our street. "Good job," I said to the seam, and heard how my tone changed. Nurse, mother, stranger, all at once. The green glow blinked like a tired eye. I slid a finger in and felt plastic. It moved and then didn't. "It's taped," I said. Someone taped over the handle. I tasted something bitter, and it was not rain. "Hold on," I said to the dark. "We will make a space." Mr. Cole looked at the fogged car again, and the fogged car looked back by doing nothing at all. He lifted his hands, put them down, lifted them again. "I used to think danger shouted," he said. "Sometimes it whispers, and you get used to the whisper so it sounds like weather." "Make it stop sounding like weather," I said. He nodded once. He put both palms to the lid and did not let his fear pick the next move. The phone in his pocket buzzed again and again. He took it out like it weighed as much as the car. The text glared. "Keep moving. No stops, no heroes." He killed the call before it rang. His mouth went thin. "I am not a hero," he said to the hinge. "Good," I said. "Heroes get statues. We need you alive." Ace pressed his chest to the bumper and lifted his lip a finger's width, showing 1 tooth. Not threat, boundary. Mr. Cole flinched, then held his ground. He made a small gesture at himself to be still. "Open it," I said. He slid the key in. Turned a quarter, froze. "They said if I opened it, they would know. If I looked, I'd be proof." "Look at me," he did. "You are proof of something else right now." "What kind of proof do you want to be?" Something in him let go. His shoulders dropped. His jaw unclenched. He turned the key the rest of the way. The latch clicked. The lid rose an inch, then 2. The green glow brightened. Cool air curled in. A small, shaking breath came out like a bird stepping onto a hand. "Stop," a voice said from the cracked window. "Calm," practiced. "Shut it. Walk away." Ace's head snapped toward the sound without moving his feet. Mr. Cole's hand jumped. The lid slipped, then caught. Milo bumped my hip and decided to be still. "Call." The teen hissed into her mic. "I already did," she whispered to me. She kept filming. The voice came again. Same tone, same inch of window. "You think the dog can stop a car? You think a camera makes you safe? Close it, drive." Mr. Cole's hand shook. The lid bobbed. The green light swam. I put my palm on the inside edge so the lid wouldn't fall. "This is where you keep the part of yourself you said you were," I told him. "Don't hand it to that window." Ace breathed in, then out, then opened his mouth and made a sound I had never heard from him. Not bark, warning from the root of him. The hairs on my arms lifted. For a beat, the rain felt quiet. The cracked window slid shut. Headlights blinked on and off. The car didn't start. "The message had been sent, sir," Milo said, voice clear. Please open. We can hold it." Mr. Cole took one slow breath and lifted the lid higher. The smell of warm cloth and fear rushed out. The green handle glowed like a promise poured into plastic. We saw a blanket first, rolled and taped, trembling in small waves. We saw the edge of a tiny bright shoe, the kind that lights when you stomp. We heard the effort it takes to keep breathing when breathing hurts. Stop! The voice shouted now, loud enough to rattle glass. A door clicked. The fogged car jolted. Ace planted both paws on the bumper and bared his teeth. The sound he made carried only certainty. "Don't move," I told Mr. Cole. "Not 1 inch." He didn't. He held the lid like it was the only thing keeping us afloat. I peeled tape from the blanket edge, Rain slicking the glue until it gave. "It's okay," I said into the small dark. "We're here." My voice wanted to shake. Ace's shoulder steadied it. A small hand appeared, fingers clenched, knuckles pale. A strip of fabric, white with red cherries, tied the wrist. The knot was tight and messy, made in hurry and fear. I slid my nail under and felt heat and a fast pulse. "It's okay," I said again. "I've got you." "No," Mr. Cole shouted, but he didn't mean stop. He meant he had to say the word to keep a bad promise, even as he broke it. Rain hid his tears. "Hurry," he whispered then. "Please." The car across the street started, engine grumbling like a threat waking up. Headlights steadied on us. The teen kept the plate in frame. "Got you," she said through her teeth. Ace's growl deepened. He moved sideways along the bumper, one paw at a time, never breaking the line between Milo and the street, never losing the car in his eyes. He was fence and bridge both. I pulled the cherry knot loose. The little hand flexed, clenched again, slow, like pins and needles waking. "Hey," I said into the dim. "Can you wiggle your toes?" The small shoe twitched once. Relief tasted like metal. "Good. Can you make a noise?" A tiny noise came, brave and thin. The cherry fabric had cut a red mark into the skin. Milo fished a cartoon rocket band-aid from his pocket and held it up like an offering. "For later," he said. His voice made the future feel real. "Close it," the voice demanded, and the car jerked a foot, then stopped. Ace flashed teeth. Mr. Cole moved without thinking, putting himself between bumper and street, arms wide like he could block steel with bone and will. "Don't you dare," I said to the car, stupid and true. The engine revved and idled. The teen kept filming. "Help me lift," I told Mr. Cole. "Slow." We raised the lid another inch. The green handle glowed steadier. The blanket shifted. A small face appeared, wide eyes, tape softening at the corners in the damp. The child looked about 5. A scratch marked the forehead. A sticker on the sleeve, half peeled, a winking dinosaur. Tears stood on lashes and didn't fall. "It's okay," I told the eyes. "You're safe. We've got you." The words felt like a rope thrown into a well. The eyes took hold. "Shut it!" The voice panicked now. The car hopped and stopped. Another shape moved in its passenger seat. Ace lunged one step to be seen and settled lower, weight forward, ready to be the last thing between that hood and our small rescue. Mr. Cole's phone buzzed. He ignored it. He held steady. "I can't do this alone," he said, his whole week inside it. "Don't let go." "I won't," I said. The teen said, "We won't." Milo said, "We never let go." Ace breathed, slow and big, his chest brushing the bumper like a drum. Sirens bled into the noise of the city, thin as thread and coming, but the street between us and them still felt like a long mile. The fogged car backed up, nosed forward, confused by its own orders. The window cracked again and a hand pointed, as if a finger could push us back where words could not. "Leave," the voice said. "Walk away and this is not your problem. Stay and it becomes your life." "It already is," I said. "Because once you hear a small breath hit cloth, you don't get to go back to not hearing it." The child's eyes pinned me, slid to Mr. Cole, then to Ace, and something peaceful showed up there. A look you see when someone decides to trust the right stranger. The tape had loosened enough to let a little sound slip. "Please," the child whisper croaked. It was the word a heart can't ignore. "Please," Mr. Cole echoed, to the man across the street and to himself. His shoulders straightened. He lifted the lid another inch. The green handle glowed like a small moon. I slid my fingers under the little shoulder and felt breath hitch and go on. Ace moved a hair to make room. Milo's hand touched my elbow like he could lift too. "Last chance," the voice called. "Close it and drive." Mr. Cole finally looked straight at the car that had owned his fear all night. No, he said, simple as a doorbell. He sounded like a man saying his own name right. He held the lid. I peeled the tape from the child's mouth, slow so skin wouldn't tear, and the first full breath came out into the cold air like a tiny storm clearing. The sirens grew louder. The car sat still. Ace stared into its dark glass until it belonged to the night again and not to us. We weren't done. We weren't even close, but a line had been crossed and held. The confrontation had happened in inches and quiet choices, and at the center of it, a dog refused to move, and a driver decided not to be the person fear had assigned him. For a second, the night felt like it listened. If you were the driver with that lid in your hands, would you have opened it sooner, or would you need that one word please to move? Tell me in one line which moment would have broken you open. Sirens grew from a thin thread into a rope pulling straight toward our block. Ace held his ground. Mr. Cole held the lid. Sky kept the plate in frame. I picked at the last strip of tape. It gave stubborn as a shoelace knot. The child's breath hit the night and trembled. A cruiser swung in and threw blue across wet street. 2 officers stepped out, low and sure, hands empty for us, eyes on the fogged car. Back away, the taller one called. Sir, hands where we can see them. Mr. Cole obeyed without letting go of the lid. The shorter officer glanced at Ace, at the seam, at Milo. He understood the order of things. Dog, child, driver, threat. The fogged car's door cracked. A lean shape slid out. Another door clicked on the far side. Don't, I said, as if a word could be a net. Ace's head turned an inch, eyes hard on the movement. He fixed the world to a point. Hands, the tall officer shouted. One shadow froze. The other melted back inside. The engine coughed, died. Ma'am, the shorter officer said to me, we can take it now? His eyes cut to Milo. Buddy, step back. I'll hold, Mr. Cole said, voice cracked, steady. Please hurry. We lifted together. The lid rose, the blanket loosened, and a small face found air. Eyes wide, tape damp, hair stuck to a sweaty forehead, a sticker peeling on a sleeve, a tiny shoe that blinked red when it moved. The child saw Ace and stopped shaking. Then she saw my face and let one sob out like a secret escaping. The sound pulled at the space under my ribs. It's okay, I said. You're safe. You did so well. I peeled tape from her mouth with slow fingers. Her lips were dry, cracked white. What's your name? Ava, came a whisper, half air. That's strong, I said. We'll get you warm. I cut a cherry knot with my house key and slid the fabric free. Her hands were small and brave and shook only after they knew they were allowed. Milo held up a rocket band-aid. For later, he told her. It doesn't fix everything, but it helps. Ava stared, then nodded. An officer eased his jacket around her shoulders. He checked her pupils and breaths. Cold, tired, dehydrated, but here, he said. The taller officer moved toward the fogged car. Driver exit. Hands up! A man in a cap stepped out, palms forward. From the other side, a woman with a hood rose, eyes too steady. She measured distances and chose not to run. For now, Mr. Cole sagged and caught himself. He looked at Ava, then at the street. I'm sorry, he told her. I should have opened sooner. Ava looked at Ace. Doggy, she whispered, and reached. Ace lowered his head to her fingers with gentleness that warmed the wet air. Thank you, she said into his fur. Paramedics rolled up. One crouched eye level. I'm Jay. May I check you over? Ava nodded. Jay looked at me. You with her? We found her, I said. Ace did. Jay gave Ace a nod and worked quick and calm. We'll warm her, then hospital. Rubber screeched on wet pavement. The man in the cap twitched toward the alley. No, the tall officer said. The man froze. The woman swallowed whatever plan she had. An older sergeant arrived, gray at the temples, rain in his mustache. He gave the scene one sweep and landed on Ace. Recognition softened his mouth. He crouched without reaching. That stance, he said. He looked at thin scars on Ace's forepaw. That's it. That stare. He glanced at my hand on the leash. Ma'am, may I look at his ear? I hesitated. Ace flicked an ear toward him, stayed still. Okay, I said. The sergeant parted fur at the inside edge. His breath caught. Faded tattoo, he murmured. 3 digits in a letter. That's a unit mark. What does it mean? I asked. It means he was trained to be this, he said. Means he used to have a different name. He studied Ace's eyes like he'd found an old friend. Valor, he tried like a word that hurt. Ace's ears moved, a puzzled huff leaving his chest. Valor? He said again, softer. Ace tilted his head a hair. The sergeant closed his eyes and opened them wet. I knew him when he was a rookie, he said. Before the warehouse, before he went missing. His name is Ace, Milo said, chin up. That's a good name too, the sergeant said. Sometimes heroes get two. What warehouse? I asked. 2 years ago, he said. Riverfront sting. Things went bad. A handler was hurt. Valor ran between a door and officers until a wall came down. When we dug out, the handler had a pulse. The dog was gone. We thought River. We hoped he found a way out. He did, I said. He found us. Did you adopt him? He asked. Yes, I said. No history. Just Ace. Shelters try to read marks, he said. Some fade. Some stories get lost. A young officer jogged up with a scanner. Chip reader, she said. May I? The sergeant asked. Ace shifted, didn't move away. It's okay, I told him. The sergeant swept the reader along his neck. It chirped. The officer read the screen. Chip ending 468. Registered to Rivergate K9. Name, Valor. Status, missing. Handler, Owen Hale. The name landed. The sergeant's mouth went tight and soft. Hale retired after the warehouse, he said. He kept asking if anyone had seen a shepherd who didn't know how to quit. He looked at Ace. Your dog didn't forget who he was. He added who he is. Milo looked at Ace like the world had gotten bigger, and there was still room for both of them inside it. He's ours, he said, but we can share his brave. That's how it should be, the sergeant said. Ava reached again. Ace leaned closer and let her fingers disappear in his ruff. Jay eased her onto a blanket on the gurney and kept her wrapped in the jacket. You're safe, he told her. Friendly nurses will give you juice. A woman came running from the far end of the block, hair loose, coat open. Ava, she cried. Officers moved to intercept, then stepped aside when they saw the shape of the grief. Ava's head snapped up. Mama, she whispered. She looked at me like I could allow the world to move. Jay stepped back. The mother folded over her child and made a sound I will hear when I am very old. Careful, Jay said softly. Easy. We've got her. The mother's hands trembled but found cheek, hair, that tiny blinking shoe. She kissed the tape mark on Ava's wrist, as if kisses could lift red from skin. Mr. Cole slid down the pole until he sat, legs stiff, hands useless. He looked older and younger at once. The tall officer crouched. Sir, I need to ask questions. Here or at the station? Start with truth. I drove, Mr. Cole said. Fear drove me first. I drove around looking for a light I kept not stopping under. The dog stopped me. He swallowed. I need to say the names of the men in the car. Then you're already helping, the officer said. Skye lowered her phone and wiped her eyes. She looked at Milo. That rocket Band-Aid is going to be famous, she said. It's not for famous, Milo said. It's for better. The sergeant radioed a unit to notify Owen Hale. Tell him we found Valor, he said, then corrected. Tell him Valor found us. An hour unspooled in motions that made sense. Statements, photos, evidence bags snapped around cherry ribbon and tape. The fogged car was towed, leaving 2 wet tire ghosts. Ava went into the ambulance with her mother's hand on her head and Jay's voice making a path. The sirens faded. The street remembered how to be a street. Under the awning, the sergeant dried Ace, careful with paws and old scars. He's got the look, he said. He won't forget tonight. None of us will, I said. He looked up. There's procedure. When a K9 resurfaces, there are exams, decisions. But I saw him next to your boy. I'm not here to take him. My breath left in a rush I hadn't admitted I was holding. Thank you. We can honor both names, he said. There's a program for retired K9s. He can work when he wants and rest when he chooses. We check in. You love him the hours we aren't looking. Ace leaned into my leg, like he had always known this was where the talk would end. Milo pressed his face into Ace's neck and whispered something only dogs get to keep. Mr. Cole approached, hat in hands. He looked at me, at Milo, at Ace. I cannot take back tonight, he said. But I can carry it right. He handed a card. If anyone asks why you stopped me, give them my name. I will tell them what a line feels like when a dog draws it on wet street. You opened it, I said. That is the part I will tell. He nodded and let out a breath that had been inside him since the station. The tall officer led him away with the respect you give people who decide late but decide true. The sergeant's radio crackled. "Hale will be here in 20. He looked at me. "You can go home. We know where to find you. Or you can stay." "We'll stay," I said. "If Ace's first family is coming, his now family should be here." We waited under the awning with hot chocolate the deli owner pressed into our hands. Sky edited her video into something the world could carry. She posted the cut, a sedan pulled up slow, the way people drive when their hearts make noise. A man stepped out, late 30s, a limp he didn't hide. He wore a jacket with Rivergate in white letters and a cautious hope. The sergeant met him. "Owen," he said. Owen reached us. "I'm Owen Hale." "Nina," I said. "This is my son, Milo, and this is Ace." He looked at the dog and stopped. "Valor," he said, not like an order, more like a prayer. Ace lifted his head, ears tilting, eyes on the man's gait, the way he carried his left side. He took one step and then another, slow, remembering how to approach a past without breaking it. Owen crouched. He didn't reach, he waited. Ace closed the last inch and pressed his forehead into Owen's hand. Owen made a sound that was laugh and sob in both. "There you are," he whispered. They stayed like that while the rain thinned. When they looked up, they were different, as people are after true names are said. "I don't want to take him from you," Owen said to me. "If he is home, I won't move him. I came to say thank you and to say I'm sorry he had to keep working when I could not." "He works when he chooses," I said. "He rests with us." "He is Ace. He is also Valor when he wants." Owen nodded. "That sounds right." He looked at Milo. "Can I show you a trick only he knows?" Milo looked at Ace. "Is that okay?" Ace wagged once. Owen lifted his hand, 2 fingers bent. "Hold," he said softly. Ace sat straighter. Owen flicked his wrist an inch. "Easy." Ace laid his chin on Milo's knee with such care that Milo's eyes filled. "He remembers everything," Owen said. "Especially how gentle to be." I looked at the curb where the trunk had opened, at the pole where Mr. Cole had sat, and felt the night take its final turn. The danger had been loud in small ways. The rescue had been quiet in large ones. A dog said no, and the world rearranged around it. Owen walked with us to the corner and stopped. "I'll check in," he said. "If he wants to work for an hour, I'll bring a game that smells like trouble." At our door, Ace paused, looked back down the block, ears up, then came inside and shook off rain. I dried him with a towel with silly turtles and watched his eyes soften from hard lines into home. He circled, sighed, and dropped into his bed with the weight of a day well done. Milo put the rocket Band-Aid on my wrist, where the lid had pinched me. "For later," he said. When I closed my eyes, I saw a green glow in dark plastic, a small shoe that blinked, a driver who chose the harder yes. I heard Valor and Boy Soft Ace and knew both were true. I smelled wet fur and cheap coffee and the sweet chemical cling of tape, and none of it scared me anymore. It made me decide to listen faster next time, to stop sooner under bright lights, to trust a dog who never lies. By morning, the video had traveled. Sky sent a link. I cut fear and left courage. The sergeant texted a photo of Owen shaking Ace's paw like 2 old men on a porch. Mr. Cole wrote that he will testify. Ava's mother wrote from a quiet room with cartoon wallpaper and juice cups. She slept. She woke. She laughed at a sticker on a nurse's shoe. She asked if the dog can have the first cookie when she is allowed to eat. I told her yes. We sat on our small couch with Milo's feet under my leg and Ace's head heavy on my knee and let the room be ordinary. Ace breathed steady as a metronome. He had been a line and a door held open. He had been himself. Tonight proved small. Deliberate choices matter. A pause, a question, a dog's quiet no. That was enough to turn fear into light again. If you want a big lesson on a card, I don't have one. I have this. A dog refused a taxi. A child came home. A driver chose the right promise. An old name met a new name and neither had to be erased. We ended with Coco, a towel, and a rocket Band-Aid. I will take that ending every time. What would you name the moment Ace stopped being just a pet and became the reason the truth came out at the hinge? The green glow? Or when he answered to 2 names and chose both? Tell me in 1 line below, and if this story stayed with you, Like, share, comment, and subscribe so more people hear it, and remember to listen when a good dog says no.